Welcome to season 11 of the Social Work Rants podcast, providing an inside look of the social work and mental health profession, continuing to discuss social work entrepreneurship, social work being political, and the day to day aspects of the social work profession. Hope you enjoy. Hello, social workers, mental health professionals, and change agents. Welcome to another episode of the Social Work Rants podcast. I'm your host, Bash Moreno. Saludos a todos. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to happening wherever you're watching or listening to the podcast. Let's get this disclaimer out the way. The podcast is not to be used as a substitute for individual counseling, individual therapy. If you need assistance, call 988. Call 911. If you have a therapist, call your therapist. If you have a psychiatrist, call your psychiatrist. It's okay not to be okay, but definitely get the help that you need. For all my out of the country listeners and viewers of the podcast, whatever your emergency line is for needing mental health assistance, please use that line and definitely get the help that you need. Um, my guest at this time, before we get to the guests, I always bad with announcements, and that's part of why we doing this podcast episode. Um, the t-shirts, I finally got shooting my shot and selling the t-shirts. I'll put the link for the t-shirts in the notes, and also selling some social work podcast coffee mugs, because many of us social workers like our coffee, like our tea. So the link will be in the show notes, and definitely get your social work podcast merchandise. We got to make these coins somewhere or another in the 2025, 2026 economy, because things are rough out here in these streets. My guess at this time, finally, we got a chance to connect on the on the podcast. Dr. Veronica Hardy, how you doing?
I am doing great. It is so good to be here. It's been a long time in coming.
Yeah, that at least a couple years since the first social work wealth conference a couple years ago. Well, I'm glad we could finally make this happen. Some things are worth the wait. So glad to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy about these t-shirts too. Coffee mugs, t-shirts. Look at you.
Yeah, we got to because I tried it like a couple years ago, and I didn't like the website I used. Like it came out good, but I wanted. Then I saw another social worker selling T-shirts, and I hit her up. Like what website you use, and she told me the website. I'm like, all right, let's get cracking. So here we are, and finally announcing it, because I'll be doing stuff and not be announcing anything. Then I wonder why I'm not getting any money.
Right?
So, so the struggles of social work entrepreneurs, which
Yes. So true.
so for folks who don't know who you are in the space, to let people know who you are, what you do.
Well, awesome. My name is Dr. Veronica Hardy. My full-time, what I do, I'm a university professor at Wingate University in Wingate, North Carolina, and I teach in the Master of Social Work program. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm also a national certified counselor. So I also teach adjunct in a clinical mental health counseling program as well. In addition to that, I am an author. So I love writing. I love writing about financial wellness, and I create many devotionals to speak to our spiritual side as well. In addition to that, I'm also an editor. I'm an editor for the Social Work Wealth magazine and serve on the board of copy editors for the International Journal of Social Work Values and Ethics. So that's just a little bit about what I do.
I honestly almost sound a little bit overwhelmed with all the stuff that you do.
But it's all good stuff, right? Nurtures
Yes,
my
yeah.
soul.
Well, as long as it nurtures your soul, that's the important piece. How how do you, in terms of time management, do all the things that you do?
Wow. So I feel like we talk about self-care a lot in social work, right?
Mhm.
So I feel like my university professor energy, it's strongest in the morning. So I like to pour into all those, I guess, tasks and ideas I come up with early in the morning. It really gets me moving. But I'll say, as far as my writing, that hits me at night when everything's kind of quiet and balanced and easy. That's when the ideas can flow. So that's kind of how I work it out. My work during the day, and then my nourishing my soul more so in those nighttime hours.
No, yeah, I could definitely relate to the nighttime when I wrote my poetry book. Definitely middle of the night and having to have a pen and pad. It's like in the dark, just writing.
Yeah, and you'll find, well, I find for me too, it just comes to me at night when my mind is just open, it feels free. And like you said, you have your pen and pad next to you. I have my cell phone. I put it on the notes and just speak it in. And in the morning, I'm like, okay, those are the thoughts that came out. Now let me go ahead and get it organized.
No, no, that's so true. Especially a lot has changed since my book came out. So now there's Otter. You either talk to ChatGPT and it'll save it for you. So there's a lot of different things that makes things easier if you got ideas pop in your head. Just talk to the phone.
Yes, we got a lot of options now. Things are changing like that with
Mm,
this technology. So it's a big help. If you're a writer, it's a big help.
no, absolutely. Um, what are you seeing with how are the students that you're teaching, and like what are some of their struggles, that like questions that they ask you, like what any
Oh,
challenges you see
yeah.
with them?
Oh, yes. So I'll say, for one, my students are fantastic. We just kicked off the second year of the program. So we're starting with our second new cohort, and everyone has come in with so much energy and they have vision. And from medical social work to school social work to clinical social work to VA social workers and more, that's where their interest lies. And that's where a lot of their questions are coming from, too, kind of how to prepare for those, I would call them kind of specializations within the
Mm,
field. And because I'm a licensed clinical social worker, I get quite a few questions around that. And of
mm,
course, one of the top questions is what? That exam, right? Being able to prepare for and study for that exam, kind of what is it like? How much time do we get? And then on top of that, just the whole social work application process. How do we do this? What are the expectations? How do I find a supervisor if my workplace doesn't have a supervisor? But on top of that, I think some of the other questions that come through is just about coping, because many of the students are, non-traditional students, which would be our ages, right? Who may have a family, be a parent, be a caregiver, working a job or two here and there, and working
mm,
in school at the same time. So the thought is, how do I balance this? And even when I graduate, how do I go about balancing all this and still carving out time for me, for my own mental, physical, spiritual health as well? So I would say those are some of the questions that come through. But right now, they're doing really good. They send me questions in their moments, which is wonderful. And I can give feedback, and I hope the feedback that I give is helpful. And I feel like they're moving forward with strength, really strong. So bravo to our social work students.
no, that's good. Good feedback. You just mentioned, and especially I always talk about it on the podcast that the the country as a whole has done a terrible job post pandemic. Is like, all right, COVID happened, and like, but us, the social workers, we see the day in day out the struggles of the families, the kiddos, and just the aftermath of the pandemic, and nothing has really been addressed, and just like life has gone on. I know I did a year and a half as a school social worker, and it's like, all right, we dealt with COVID, and COVID's over. It's like back to like pandemic never happened. It's like then you got all these kids coming in and like no real formal, no education, no real like preschool or anything like that, and coming in and it's like see paper on the desk and like what is it? What is this? So it's like nothing. It's like we're still running in circles.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, COVID had, I guess it had a different impact on everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of time from school was missed. Work was affected, housing instability, that increased. But there are those gaps. Kind of where was the transition to help people move back into, say, that school or educational environment, or even prepare for it? And I'm just going to speak about my program. Before the program was developed, a survey definitely went out to the community to see what kind of their needs were, how they would like to see a social work program delivered. And again, many of the students are the non-traditional learners, so they shared they need that time flexibility, that geographic flexibility. So our program is online, and it allows them to tend to what's happening in the household, especially if they're a caregiver or parent, and then also be able to still make those work hours and still pursue that goal of education. So I like how you brought up that topic, because many of the transitions that are needed to be able to support people, I know it may be 5 years or a little less after COVID, but people are still impacted. I mean, much of what happened has long-term effects. So once again, I'm glad you brought up that point.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Especially there's been a lot of articles that I've seen recently of I call them the COVID babies, like that were born in 2020 are now going to kindergarten for the first time, and like how are they going to be dealing with school, and even a lot of the new sixth graders were in kindergarten or going to middle school now, and that transition of basically losing like 2 years, and people still a lot of the kiddos are still technically behind almost 2 years in like academics, and so how that's going to affect schools and or schools up for the task for to dealing with that.
And that's still something, again, as social workers and other what I call impact professionals, that we could still be focusing on. What can we create? What are the needs? How can we go about responding to them? So you're sharing a lot here today that we could still work towards addressing.
Yeah. So let's talk about your recent book that I had the pleasure of reading, of Becoming Wealth Wise. What was your inspiration behind that latest book of yours?
Awesome. So one, thank you, Bass, for supporting and reading that book. Something that really inspired me to write this book was about financial wellness. And many of us, whether it's social workers or just people in general,
Mhm.
and people who we provide services to, a lot of the challenges that we experience, it can extend from finances. Lack of finances, cost of living rates go up. We all heard about the eggs on the news, right? The prices of eggs, and that was just a small example
Mhm.
of the change in cost, even the change in the size of the product, but the cost was either the same or higher, things such as that many of us have dealt with and are dealing with. And I thought it would be nice to have a brief writing. I'm also working on making my writing more concise, because I know many people don't have time to read a novel or something lengthy. They really need something that's right here, right now. These smaller bites of information that they could just read in a couple hours or something to that extent. And that's what I wanted to give people through writing Becoming Wealth Wise. Thinking about, how do I want to navigate my finances differently? How do I want to use money as a tool, but how do I want to do that differently? And how do I want to create methods in my life that's going to be sustainable, not just right here, right now, and then I fade out of this habit later, but how can I do something that is sustainable for me, that fits into my life, and is definitely in sync with my daily flow. And that was my inspiration for writing that particular book in such a way.
No, I love that. Like, just I need it right. I know, kind of 2020 like was also kind of like the birth of like or the explosion of financial education, financial literacy. So people were been seeking knowledge. Sometimes it's been like knowledge overload, and it's, so kind of like still needing that knowledge right here, right now. People who weren't ready back then, or like now ready now to get the knowledge, and like I need to do something with my finances, especially where things changing. We talked about AI, briefly, constantly changing, literally every day. Something new happening. We got the administration, something always doing something every day.
Yes.
uh, uh, and just or even within like your own state of North Carolina, is a big year in terms of a big governor's race that's been getting some national attention, and that's happening. So even like we always focus on the federal, but then like we got like big state races that's happening that could affect more day in day out of our clients than anything really on the federal level.
All right. I like how you said that, that again, there's the federal level, then there's the state level, and we could even go down to the local level. But like
Mm,
you said, day to day, and that's a lot of what we have to pay attention to. What is affecting our clients day to day? And then what do they need in response to that? And one thing that I shared in the book, I have this acronyms. I know many people love acronyms, and I kind of grounded it in my last name, which is Hardy. And I chose that because Hardy can mean strong or brave or courageous or something to that extent. And I feel like when we're coping with what's happening in society, managing our household, working to manage our finances as well, that does take courage. That does take strength. That does take bravery, right? And it takes bravery and courage to ask for help. It takes bravery and courage to reach out or even buy a book. That's a form of help for you as well.
mm,
And the thought is, how do I integrate some of these new methods in my life? Or how do I uncover what I call hidden currents? Some of those messages that I've received about money, not just from people in my life, meaning my family across generations, but also some of those messages that I'm receiving about finances from society. Like you
mm.
said, the federal messages, the state messages, etc. And what does all that mean for me? How does that impact me? So again, just through this book, Becoming Wealth Wise, I just really want to push people to go deeper, to understand their story, to understand what are those voices that are speaking to them as far as messages from different systems in society. And then how do I take these small actions? I call these micro actions. That's one of the new phrases I think that we're starting to hear in society right now: atomic actions, micro steps, and so forth. What are those small steps that I can start taking now that will make sense for me and be in a good flow and in sync with my life, right? To help me move towards my particular financial vision.
No, I like that, because I think I'm maybe just because I'm getting older. Like I'm at a point in my life. I do have worry about my two kids. I'm a caregiver. My dad, and it's like, what's if it's not affecting my day to day, reality of my situation, my personal finance situation, then I don't really have time to really hear a lot of noise. Like I do make my time for some self care. There's like occasional like gossip or celebrity that I'm interested in, or like an athlete doing something or whatever, or just for kicks, those scrolling, whatever. But that, like I said, like micro, like day to day, like what does that look like, for me, and kind of focus on that. And I know at the same time, just kind of know what's out there, what's happening in the world, and still finding that balance, since a lot of things are happening, not only federal in this country but also throughout the world. And going on too, and global things does affect our national economy at times too, which then trickles down to the local folks day in day out too. So it's a lot, and kind of trying to find that balance.
And I like how you said you really brought out about the place that you're in right now in your life. You're a parent, you're a caregiver, you have your job. So you have all these things going on, all these roles that you're filling. And then with me, back to that question about part of what influenced me to write the book was I'm at that life stage where I'm actually thinking about legacy. Like, what am I leaving? What am I leaving behind? What am I giving? What am I contributing to the lives of others? And just when I think about wealth, it's not just about money.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's not about money. For many people, it's about what am I leaving? How am I pouring into the lives of others? Just when I listen to you, Bash, you're already pouring. You're pouring
Mm-hmm.
into. You said you're taking care of your father now. You have your children, you're pouring in the community with what you do, and even to other impact professionals through this podcast. To me, that's all wealth, and that's all about legacy. So again, that's one of those other factors that really contributed to writing this book as well, becoming wealth wise, knowing ourselves. What do we want to create? What impact do we want to have in society, and what steps can we take to go about doing that?
For you mentioned like the MSW students, but other MSW students who listen to the podcast, and just beginning social workers, or just other social workers who might be like kind of stuck where they at in their career, like what 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 can people, in terms of like transferable skills, like what can like people should be at least maybe just thinking about what can they do. No, you're an author, you're doing so many different things. Like what should like social workers do to kind of like think about using their transferable skills, and what they could do in the space.
Goodness, I love that question. I'm so glad you asked it. So glad you asked it because that's something I really like to hone in on with my students. I also provide mentorship to other social work professionals and counselors. So I like to share that with them too of, how do I take this degree that focuses on social work, advocacy, policy, and so forth, and transfer that into these other areas. And I just want to say one of the first financial books that I wrote was called Let's Talk About Finances. And I wrote that for social work students and graduates specifically. And I included a chapter about side hustles and gigs and how to promote ourselves when we go out and start engaging in some of those post-graduation interviews, and that not all of the job titles are going to be social worker or counselor or something to that extent. But
Mm-hmm.
all of the skills listed underneath, you have met those skills through your training and your classes. So I often encourage people to kind of just take a moment to reflect. What are some of those things that you have found yourself enjoying in life? Another question might be, what is something that you could just see yourself doing several hours a day, whether you were paid for it or not? What is that thing? Right. Me, I love writing. When I was younger, I used to love writing poetry, and I heard you earlier say about your poetry book too. I just loved writing poetry, and then that turned into writing books. I loved reading. I love really like talking to people and working to understand their experience and how I could support them through their experiences. Now, what do I do with that now? Editing. So who thinks about social workers editing? Who thinks a lot about social workers being authors? I know we author textbooks, but how about these other books, devotional, financial, wellness books? So really thinking about what are some of those other things that you're interested in? Are you interested in speaking? Are you interested in leadership? Developing nonprofits, building companies. I previously had a private counseling practice as well. That's entrepreneurship. And oftentimes social workers don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs, but we are,
Mm-hmm.
even if you started a nonprofit. And then I also want to plug the Social Work Wealth magazine because that fits so good in this conversation. And just to
Mhm.
give a shout out to Bass, he's one of our article contributors for that magazine as well. But the strength of that magazine is it has all these stories from social workers and other impact professionals about what they are doing. So, what you're going to see is a lot of stories about non traditional social work practice, which is also necessary during these contemporary times where social workers may have seen gaps and then turn that into their own business or an opportunity to be able to fill that particular gap. I love one story that I learned from Ayana Penn, who is, again, a contributor to the Social Work Wealth magazine, how she was working basically in the children and youth field. And she would see the impact, say, on the parents, the mothers that she was working with, and even the impact on herself as well. And that turned into a whole, I would say, health and fitness
Mhm.
opportunity for her to be able to respond to not only her needs and the needs of other social workers, but recognizing the needs of the parents who are responding to their children and youth and managing all these other aspects of their lives. So those are some of the ways that I transfer my skills into these many other things that I actually enjoy doing. And then these are ways that other people are transferring their skills. So really tapping into what are you, we use that word passion a lot, but I would say what are some of your interests? What are some of those things that bring you joy? What seems to be natural, for lack of better words, for you? And then what does that mean? How does that tie in to what you see in society, and how can that be used to respond to different needs out there?
No, I like that. And no, shout out to Ayana. I know I did a couple of her workout classes, and she back a couple years ago she goes in on the workouts. So
She's amazing.
um, and yeah, the Social Work Wealth magazine. Looking forward to the next magazine, and now I gotta hide it from the wife a little bit because she, she by accident she tried to throw out the first magazine. I'm like, no, I'm in that magazine. What are you doing?
Yes.
It's rare. Only like a handful of people have this magazine. Like this is a rare commodity. Like so
That
just
is
throw it
true.
out.
That is very true.
So all jokes aside, so I'm no, I'm looking forward to the next one coming out and just seeing my article in the magazine and promote the magazine and kind of just looking at all the magazine, all the articles that people wrote and how it looks, the layout of it and everything. So exciting times in the profession.
I agree with that. And I think the strength of the magazine and also strength of your article too is the sharing of the personal story, right? Because oftentimes people, they'll just see what we allow them to see, right? From the day to day. But sometimes being able to share what our own struggles or challenges are in life, that helps to elevate other people, again, to know that, well, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this. So now let me kind of coordinate my plan. I see that such and such, Baz, has created his plan. Now what's my plan going to be? What are some of my next steps to move towards whatever my vision might be for my life?
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we definitely a lot of people see see what you allow you to see. That's definitely definitely true. And I I think more so like for us like who are like licensed professionals are like number one ain't trying to do anything to jeopardize the license first and foremost. Number two, you just everybody got a camera nowadays, so all, all it takes is like 10 to 15 seconds for something bad to happen on camera, and that's it, or taken out of context, and now like you're fighting for your life pretty much.
That is so true. That is so true, right? And just like that, things can change.
No, definitely. Um, what else do you have going on?
Ooh, let's see. So I mentioned the Social Work Wealth magazine. That's going to be launching this month, August 2025. I enjoy presenting, providing presentations and trainings. So definitely another organization that I'm involved with. And I'll give a shout out to Rita Wolfson, one of our NASW social work pioneers and the founder of the Financial Social Work Discipline and the Center for Financial Social Work. I love coordinating with Rita, who, as you may know, provides free webinars every single month through the Center for
Mm,
Financial Social Work. So currently we're coordinating for my next webinar coming this fall. Some of the previous webinars focused on our own financial mapping, as
mm,
well as kind of this racial legacy or history in relation to finances as well. So I definitely have that coming up soon. One of my newest endeavors in relation to presenting has been to financial organizations that help to guide other people financially. So I've been able to come in and speak to their clients about the connection between mental wellness and financial wellness. Because as we know, when we are stressed about finances, and then that's compounded by other stressors in our life,
mm.
it can affect how we show up in the workplace, right?
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yes, it can definitely have a significant impact. So, part of my role has been virtually being able to come in and have those discussions about kind of what does stress look like for you, because it can look different for everyone. And then how do we kind of navigate that stress? How can we become increasingly aware of red flags if our mood is going to, transition or shift because we are in a period of stress, because we
Mm,
don't want that mood to spill out in the middle of a meeting or something to
exactly.
that extent. Um, and then also with an insurance company, I'll be providing a training to the staff there soon, next month, September, um, really focusing on how to support their clients and engage with their clients. You asked that question earlier, Bass, about how our skills can be transferable. Who would think I'd be, called on by an insurance company, homeowners insurance, auto insurance, and so forth, to come in and speak to the independent contractors who are working with the public to educate them about these insurances. And now me coming in to be able to speak about the emotional side, about making long-term decisions about, do I really need that insurance plan or that level of insurance? And all these things that a person may be experiencing or what may be going through their mind at that moment that influences their decisions, again, around money and finances and these long-term types of decisions in their lives. So those are some of my newest, I would say, endeavors that I've come upon so far.
How did those opportunities come about? Because I know that's a lot of question. Sometimes I get that question. It's true. Sometimes I even ask that question. Like, how did you make this happen?
That's a good point. That's a good point, because I often have that question too for other people. I think about your T-shirts and your coffee mugs. How did you do that? How did you get all that started and printed? I mean, just the little micro steps that many of us aren't taught along the way. But for me, the one financial institution I was speaking about first, that is located in New York, and this was a person, they were really searching for how could we find someone who can respond to our clients' needs, because the stress related to finances is what many of their clients were communicating to
Mm,
them. So they went on to Rita's website, Center for Financial Social Work. Rita started a directory of financial professionals, and I happened to put myself on that directory. So the person found me there. Then they went onto my website and saw that I spoke about anxiety and stress. and then finances as well. So they sent me an email to see if it's something I would be interested in, and I definitely said yes. And then as far as the insurance, it's actually someone that I've used in the past as well. And in my tagline, in my email, and you may have seen this, Bass, I listed links to all my books. And,
Yeah, I did see that.
yep, so I don't email this person very often, but that time I sent an email in response to something, and they saw my book that was titled Impact Your Income. Prior to that, they didn't even know that I wrote books. And so when they saw Impact Your Income and they already knew I was a social worker and a counselor, they thought this would be a perfect blend. So they just reached out to me, and then they had me meet with the district manager to see if what I was thinking would be a good fit and so forth. So those are some of the stepping stones. I would say how we market is key. Me being on the Center for Financial Social Work website with the directory, me using my tagline, my signature line, I should say, on my email address. I often refer to some of these spaces as free real estate. So your email signature and whatever you put beneath that, that's like free real estate if you have a free email account. And then my website, ways to make that useful. I always attach that in my emails. As we know, LinkedIn, if you have your free account, your whole banner is free real estate for you to really communicate about who you are and what you do. So if I were to leave one great tip about how some of these opportunities have evolved for me, it's I've been using my free real estate to really share and promote what I do.
You just gave me some homework to do. I've been meaning to put in my info on the financial social work listing because I get the emails. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to do that, and then I'll forget. Then I get the email again, and then they're like, next time I got to do it right then and there, and put my stuff on there. So, and you mentioned LinkedIn. I definitely have gotten opportunities through LinkedIn. I try to no. LinkedIn is actually a great instead of going on Instagram. LinkedIn is a great resource to be scrolling. So I do a lot of scrolling on LinkedIn, and you'll see like job postings directly from the source, or just like different. I'm looking for a speaker or whatever, or anything, and like literally like I'm on it right then and there. So
Yeah, I don't know if people know how valuable or helpful that LinkedIn can be when you are looking for opportunities, and it gives you the opportunity to really showcase yourself, communicate with other professionals. Like you said, Bass, yeah, you can end up scrolling. There are so many updates and people doing things. It's interesting. It's interesting scrolling. And that would even help you see as well. Like if you're a social worker and you're thinking, again, that transferable skills question. Oh, how are other people transferring their skills? This is a social worker, but they're over here working in technology. They're a key person in technology. They're podcasters, they're influencers, they're writers. So again, there is so much that social workers can do, and so many realms that our skills can transfer to. But it's important that we make ourselves seen and use some of these spaces to make ourselves seen.
no, absolutely. I'll definitely be taking some note about that too. It's like I want to be kind of seen, but like dodging, like bobbing and weaving, like a boxer.
Yeah. Like how much do I want to be seen?
Yeah,
And what
exactly.
do I want to be seen? Right?
Yeah.
Back to the self-care, back to the self-care and staying in control of our time for sure.
If you don't see me, I'm busy playing college football on my PS5.
Hey, sounds good. And I'm watching football. Go Eagles. So I'm watching football.
uh, oh, we you said go Eagles. We got to stop the recording.
Oh no. Not on our Super Bowl champs, right?
I'm gonna edit that part out.
Okay.
No, it wouldn't be the social work prayers podcast without a social work joke, without a sports joke. So.
There we go. There we go.
Where can people reach out to you?
So people can reach out to me again on LinkedIn, be able to locate my profile. But the link to LinkedIn is also available on my website. My website's very simple. You can either type in veronicahardy.com or drveronicahardy.com. They'll both take you to the same place. And there is the option to send me an email, contact me through that website as well. So yes, there's a lot of information there where you could learn more about me. And even my Read to Give initiative that I just started this summer regarding books, that all proceeds go to help support a scholarship that I fund for a organization referred to as Leaders of Tomorrow. It's a youth organization for the Raleigh-Durham chapter of the National Black MBA Association. So as I often stress, the proceeds definitely go towards somewhere good, but also it gives me the opportunity to donate books to other youth related organizations as well.
Awesome, great stuff. Keep up the great work, and we'll be in touch and continue to be in touch in these social work streets.
Great. It was great to be in this space today, Bass. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
No, I'm glad to have you.